All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our audience, wherever you are. We are joined today by Phil Risher, Flash Consulting. And before we welcome our guests, just a little bit of background of how this podcast will go. Basically, once we do our guest intros, we'll dive into their story and they'll tell us a little bit about, their background, what they do today, what their agency does. And then we'll talk about how the industry has evolved, what's working well, any challenges they have, and then we'll finally wrap up with future plans as far as Flash Consulting goes. So without further ado, welcome, Phil. How are you today?
Good, man. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk. I'm a little under the weather. I mentioned I have an 8-week-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. So who knows who got me sick? Probably a combination of no sleep and daycare.
It's the good life.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is.
So this is episode 2 of our Retain podcast series, and it's a pleasure to have you on. And I would love to have you explain in your own words what your career evolution has been, and how you came about to founding Flash.
Yeah. Well, coming out of college, I worked at Enterprise Rent a Car where I was renting cars. And if anyone knows anything about Enterprise, they build people from the ground up, operators. And I ended up becoming a branch manager at a flagship branch. So I had about 350 cars, 20 team members, 2 locations, and I got paid off the bottom line. So the P&L, I got paid off the profit. I was 25. And at that point, I was really good at that, but I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and he said the number one skill you can learn is how to sell. So I went into corporate office, enterprise, and I was selling fleet management services to home service companies. So these home service businesses have large fleets of vehicles, like 20 vehicles, 100 vehicles, they're driving around to people's houses and stuff. So I was calling all those owners, setting meetings, talking about their fleets and then how enterprise could support them. At the same time, I started blogging about personal finance. I was really big. I am a big Dave Ramsey guy and I had paid off student loans. So I had paid off 30,000 student loans and then I bought a condo with cash when I was 25. And
Wow.
my wife is a kindergarten teacher. So all of her friends were like, how did you do this? What did you do? I wasn't making a ton of money, right? I was working at Enterprise. And so I started a blog and I built a WordPress website. I started doing automations with MailChimp. I started building call to actions on my website to download a budget guide and different tools. And this was in 2015. So when I would go to those meetings with those home service businesses, I would talk to them about, me just in general, like getting to know them and then sharing things about me. And I ended up getting featured in like Forbes and CNBC and all this cool stuff. Oh, yeah, it was like really cool. But I wasn't making any money. It was just like fun to talk about and learn stuff. I couldn't really figure out how to monetize. But anyways, I left Enterprise because I didn't really like selling fleet management and I didn't have any debt. So I'm like, I should go do something fun. So I bought a little school bus and I made a tiny home. And then I traveled around the country making content for a couple months. And when I came back from that trip, one of my clients was a $3 million home service business that I had sold fleet management to. And he was following my whole journey on Facebook. He loved me. He loved the whole story. So I went to work there. And when I went to work there, all my worlds collided. My enterprise experience of running a local business, my marketing experience of turning a website visitors into leads and then growing a business. And his business took off 3 million to 4 million in the first year and then ultimately to 5 million and then sold to private equity. And then I started my company there. That was about 7 years ago.
Wow, that's quite an awesome story. Um, and it looks like you were creating content because before content creation became cool.
Yeah, I know. I always tell my wife is like influencing before influencers. And like, I couldn't even figure out the monetization piece of it. Over 4 years of blogging, I only made $4,000. It wasn't like
Sure.
I was like quick to the game. I was quick to the game, but I didn't know how to like connect the dots. But either way, yes, it was started when it wasn't really that cool yet, but
Right.
I couldn't unlock the yeah.
Hey, you were building your brand, right? For
Yeah,
what was
yeah,
to come next. So,
yeah, exactly.
as an operator-minded agency founder, right? What parts of this journey has shaped how you lead today?
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting because the way that I started the company was out of pure necessity and need from what my experience was working at a home service business. So I never worked at an agency. All I knew was from working at a home service business, trying to grow and then dealing with agencies and knowing like all the issues that I faced. So even to this day, when we're building things or operating, I always have the mindset of the home service business owner of like what are they experiencing, how are they showing up to this, how is this going to impact them, what are they going to feel, because naturally that's the shoes that I was in and that's what I'm building this company out of, that pain. I think it's a lot different than just like, I want to go make a bunch of money or, I'm trying to build this thing and sell it or something like that. And all those things are nice to hear or talk about, but it really comes from the pain that I had and like building a company that actually solves a lot of the problems.
Right. Well, I think also from a perspective, right? You've got both sides of the perspective, whether it's from an operator's perspective or now from the agency side.
Exactly.
Given that you have this unique vantage point, what do most marketers misunderstand about how these businesses actually grow?
Yeah, man. This one is like, sorry if you're a marketing company, but I'm like, I was at my home service business, and every time I got on the call with the digital marketing companies, they would say, "Spend more on ads. Your cost per lead is this, this, and this." And
Right.
then I would say, "Who are these leads, and why should I spend more on ads?" And they would say, "Well, if your cost per lead is $100, then that means if you spend another 100, you'll get another lead." And I don't care about cost per lead. I care about return on ad spend and revenue. And they would say to me, "Oh, well, why don't you go figure that out in your CRM and let us know what it is?" And I'm like, okay, well, I could do that, but I don't know how to connect all the dots. So the biggest thing that I get frustrated about is that agencies get paid when people spend more money on ads,
Hmm.
but they don't know the full picture and they're telling people to spend more money without actually knowing it's going to grow their business. And
Okay.
so the way that you grow a business is by getting good quality leads. Doesn't matter about cost per lead because it could be $1,000 cost per lead and you can make 100,000. It matters mostly about your return on ad spend and actual revenue. So that's the first thing is like with the ads thing, I would say that. The other piece that I would say is that there's four main buckets and I work with home service business. So it might be a little different depending on your agency. But for me, I'm going to be on the agency side on this one, which is there's your booking rate, your estimate close rate, your average ticket, and your customer acquisition cost. A lot of times, as an agency side, we all know it'll be like, "Hey, we got through these 10 leads," and the business owner says, "These leads are terrible. Who are they? You got me $0." So, like, what we do as a company is we actually listen to the calls. And then we tell them, no, 7 of these 10 calls were actually good. Your intake process is just terrible. And your booking rate is blah, 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 like, 0. So there's two sides of it, right? There's like having aligned incentives while also having the operational infrastructure internally to be able to talk to the business and help coach them on how to fix those bucket leaks.
Okay. So it sounds like you're also doing some type of a sales training as you identified, where the lead quality was not bad, like like they were alluding to, but it was the lack of conversion strategy or the journey, the lack of the envisioning the journey for the customer. Is that about right?
Yeah, here's my thing. No business owner raised their hand and said, "I want to go pay a marketing company $5,000, hope that they grow my business." They want to hire a company that helps them grow their business. So what I tell my team is like, our job is to grow their business. We don't have
Hmm.
unaligned incentives. We don't care if they spend 100,000 on Google ads or 0. We don't get paid that way. We get paid when they grow their business and they stay with us. So for me, it's not about outputs, it's about outcomes. And a lot of times agencies focus on outputs. I'm just running Facebook ads for them. I'm doing SEO for them. I'm doing this. No one cares about that. They want to grow their business, which is why they're investing in it. So you got to make sure that they're growing their business no matter what, output you're doing.
Right. So would it then, in that case, right? I heard a metric that I haven't heard a lot of agency owners talk about, which is return on ad spend, right?
You haven't heard them talk about it because they don't want to know it because then
Correct.
people are going to stop paying them.
Right. Given that that is such an important metric to you, right? How do you position or how do you, stand apart from the next agency that is helping home service business owners?
Yeah, and I would argue that it's not just important to me, it's important to the business.
Absolutely.
And so the way that we stand out is like literally we get on the calls and we're like, okay, what's your Google Ads budget? $3,000. How do you know if that's making you money or not? And they don't know. So what we do as a company is we actually build that number inside of their CRM and figure it out for them. So then when they get on the call, it's like, hey, you spent $3,000 and you made $30,000. That's a 10x return. We should do more of that. And they're like, okay, sounds good. It's not about putting it back on the owner because what happens to the owner, I'm actually writing a book. It's coming out in a couple months, but essentially the owners that we work with is like $1 million to $10 million home service businesses. The
Right.
owners get stuck in three buckets. They get stuck in the data bucket. So the agency goes to the business and says, hey, you got to pull return on ad spend and let us know if this is working or not. Bucket one. Bucket two is automations. The agency says the lead came in and you can't convert any leads into the funnel. Now you got to go build automations. And then bucket three is in the marketing, cookie cutter marketing, where the business owner is emailing support at email and saying, hey, can you update my website to this, this, and this? They're the one driving the ship. It's mind boggling to me that it still operates this way, but this is exactly what I had to do. I had to try to piece all these things together, and I was stuck in the middle trying to make it make sense. And I had no idea what I was doing.
That's a very interesting breakdown there. So because the average Joe only knows the cookie cutter marketing, right? So how do you get them to think differently when they engage you as the home services marketing agency?
Yeah. We call it chocolate broccoli.
Okay.
Essentially, it's not cool or fancy to talk about, we're going to pull your data and we're going to do da 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 and we're going to da 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 da. But we know for our best clients to be successful, we have to do these things. We have to know their booking rate. We have to know their close rate. We have to know their average ticket, because we have to know what we can fix and how we can grow. It's not the cool things that they get on the call with the new AI things and this and that. But when they work with us, we don't even tell them on the sales call that we're going to do all this. They come in and we start setting up all of our processes. And there's a reason why last year our average client grew 27% revenue year over year. And it's because we know their data and we coach to the data. And we have a very strict process about people becoming clients of ours, because we know that if you do these things, you will be successful. If you don't, you're not going to be successful. So you could work with us, but don't expect the same outcome.
Got it. No, there's a couple ways I wanna take it, tie into the next question, but one's a step back. So of course you're the founder, but how does your role fit into the bigger picture, and where do you spend most of your time?
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, we were around like 1.5 million in revenue, and I was doing everything. Like literally, I was the director of digital marketing. I was the salesperson. I was overseeing all of our consultants, which are like account managers, but consultants. I was basically doing all of these roles. And the problem is that every single thing got like 5 to 10% of my time. And I
Mhm.
couldn't focus on what my unique ability was or what I was really good at. I read the book Buy Back Your Time from Dan Martell, and I was in strategic coach with Dan Sullivan and a couple other coaching programs. And essentially, I went into what I call fire fill season, which is I fired myself from everything, literally everything, because I knew that I needed to buy back my time and not be the bottleneck and only focus on what I enjoyed doing and what I was good at, which is content creation, podcast,
Right.
forward thinking, AI search and visibility and creation and stuff like that. All the other stuff, I need to hire people for that. So a year and a half ago, I started on that journey and I started buying back my time. And then now I'm at the point where you asked about like, what do I spend my time doing and that kind of stuff. It's content creation, podcasts, making content, videos. I'm working with our marketing team to build email content to go to our database, running ads to get leads coming in. Yeah, that kind of stuff, building cool stuff. Like we have a lot of cool AI agents and stuff that we're building. So yeah, that's what I focus now on.
So at some point, like you said, last year, once you got to a certain, was it like a plateau that you were hitting because you were doing everything and you're like, hey, how do I scale past this 1.5 mil? That's what lit the light bulb for you?
Yeah, the hustler, when I got to a million, the hustler had to die and the leader had to be born.
Yes.
And essentially, I had to stop doing everything and only focus on what my unique ability was. And the bigger crux of it is that in the book, Buy Back Your Time, he says, if you have the money to solve a problem, you don't have a problem. And usually, if you have like a $1.5 million business and you're doing everything, you have pretty good margins. And
Right.
that's what happened
Right.
with me. I had really good margins, but I had no margin in life.
Correct.
So it was like, okay, I need to pull my margin back, and then I need to go and hire people and build them inside of my company so that I actually have a
Right.
well-oiled machine.
Right. No, I think strategic scaling was the best thing that when you look back now, that's probably the best thing you did, right?
Oh yeah. Now it's this year we'll probably do around like 2.8 or 3 million. But even going through the buy back my time and like hiring people and stuff, my business grew because now I had people focused 100% of the time on these things. So they're going to get better outputs than my 10% of the time. Yeah. So I would say definitely it's so important. And it's something that we talk to our clients about as well, which is like, if you want to grow, you need the infrastructure to achieve the outcome. And if you don't have the infrastructure, you can't just hustle your way to $3 million or $5 million. That's not how it works.
Correct. Yeah, I noticed on your business page on LinkedIn that you've staffed quite a bit and you've got it pretty distributed. I know I see there's some folks overseas that are also helping out from a talent perspective. So I think you guys are pretty set on the next phase of growth, huh?
Yeah, right now we're at 23 team members. So probably over the last year, year and a half, we hired about 10 people. some stateside, some overseas. What I will say, our team is all remote. So we don't have like a standard office. So there's like our director of digital
Oh,
marketing.
overhead.
Yeah, he lives in Texas. I never met him before. So we don't really look at people as if they're in Brazil or South Africa or the Philippines any different than someone who's in Texas or Florida. It's all pretty much the same. We just happen to be in different places.
Yeah, that's the workspace, the workplace of the future, right?
Exactly.
So you mentioned specifically, right, that you focus on the 1 million to 10 million residential home services businesses. Why is that such a strong fit for Flash?
It's the perfect fit for Flash. And the reason is because when you're between 1 and $10 million, you can't hire a full-time marketing person to do all this stuff. You can't hire a developer, you can't hire an automations expert, you can't hire a high-level marketing person. And so if you were to do that, you're going to be spending $400,000 or $500,000 plus trying to keep up with all the tech stack, all the new technology, all the best practices. And so 1 to 10 million in particular, you can't do that. So if you hire a company like ours, you get a fractional CMO,
Right,
consultant in your business who also
right.
has all of the best practices and a team to support them, basically as if you're hiring like a $20 an hour employee, and you get all of this team plus instant access to them, call, text, email away. So it's essentially built specifically for them to help them, and also a tremendous value for them so that they don't have to try to build it themselves, and then they get all these resources in a team.
Awesome. So do you have like a dedicated customer relationship manager for each account that is their first point of contact?
Yep. So we have consultants, and the consultant's role is to work directly with the business owner to help them grow their business. And
Uh,
they're on performance pay, which means if they have clients, they get paid. If they don't have clients, they don't get paid. So their only incentive is to have clients and make sure that they're growing and happy. And so my biggest gripe with this is like a lot of times agencies hire communication degree, recent college graduates who have no idea
mhm.
about business, no idea about anything, and they plug them in and tell them, go talk to these people you're nice to talk on the phone with, and you look nice on Zoom or something. We basically take really good operators. So like the last one we hired, Marie. She worked at a home service business and helped them go from 8 million to 11 million in 24 months. And before that, she had 15 years in marketing experience as an account manager. When she
Nice.
gets on a call with a client who's a $2 million home service business, all day, they're like, yeah, but what can I do? What do I need to do? Right. So it's like another layer of credibility and expertise that we bring to the table.
For sure. No, that definitely hits home. So also, when we talked few days ago, you mentioned that CRM and CSR readiness are non-negotiables. Why does that matter so much before marketing can really perform?
Yeah, so I've been at this for 7 years now. And what I found when I analyzed the people that ended up churning or the people that were not getting results with us, it was some of these fundamentals. So what we have is this checklist when they come in and work with us, which is you got to be residential focused. You got to be between 1 and 10 million. You have to have a CRM and a CSR. And the reason you need a CRM is because if I'm sending you leads and you have no idea where these leads are going, or you're sending out estimates and you have no idea what stage that they're in,
Hmm.
I can't reasonably tell you to increase your ad spend or do certain things because you can operationally run a business that's doing it. Like you don't know any of the numbers. So it's not set up for success, is the first thing. The second thing with the CSR is we had a guy out in California and he was around like 1.2 million. He was the CSR and the estimator. So he would answer the phone and then give estimates over the phone. The problem is that last year, February, he did 70 estimates. This year, with working with us, he did 140 estimates, so doubled his estimates. But last year, with 70 estimates, he only closed 30 of them. This year, with 140, he only closed 30 of them. So basically, he didn't have the bandwidth or willing to invest in more salespeople or infrastructure or not be the CSR even. And so what happens is that he caps his growth and then he thinks it's a marketing problem when really it's an operational problem. So
Got it.
that's really what we're looking at is do they have the infrastructure to scale, and then do they have the team in place to scale? We could do it if they don't and they're willing to hire people, but it's going to take them longer because it takes someone 3 to 6 months to ramp up on a CRM, ramp up a CSR, and then they're going to evaluate our performance after 3 to 6 months. It doesn't really line up with like growth in the first 3 to 6 months.
Totally makes sense. Do you ever have a situation where you're like, man, this guy's perfect in that 1 to 10 sweet spot, but he doesn't have a CRM that goes beyond a spreadsheet or you know dedicated person to handle the CSR functions. But if he's willing, he or she is willing to say, "Hey, you know what, Bill, I get it. I don't have that. Can you help me set it up so that you'll work with me to grow my business?" Is that ever happen?
Yeah, we have two negotiables. CRM and CSR is negotiable if it's the right person. Like they got to not be a jerk. They got to be, focused on like entrepreneur mindset, technician mindset. And then we will say, hey, if you're willing to invest in these things in your business and grow, absolutely. We'll work with you on that. The one non-negotiable that we have is revenue. And the reason is because in home service, people spend 3 to 10% of their revenue on marketing. That's the benchmark.
Sure.
So at $1 million, you're spending $30 to $100,000. We fit nicely into that with a little bit of ad spend. So we know if you're running a good business, we're not going to be a burden. If you're a $500,000 business and you're like, yeah, I can spend $5,000 a month, that's fine. We know that that's not conducive to running a successful home service business. That's looking for a silver bullet and trying to bring in a company that's overkill for you. So we never want to be a burden on someone. We want to be a growth partner. So that's why usually if we're under $1 million, we will turn them away.
Yeah, because it's the classic startups that are, they want to focus more on the product and they don't want to give marketing enough importance or investment. And then they wonder why they don't get traction, right?
Yeah. And usually when you're under $1 million, you're the number one salesperson. You
Hmm.
usually answer the phones still or like overflow calls. You're also firefighting as the operations manager. So you don't have time to dedicate to building systems in your business. You're still just trying to figure out your life, which is not a bad thing. I went through that. We all went through that. But to bring on a strategic partner like Phlash, you got to be at the threshold for it to make sense because you're not going to achieve the outcome that you want if you don't have the infrastructure. And so we
Yeah.
have to be transparent about that because we can't tell people like, yeah, we're going to grow your business 27% like all the other our average clients when you are not set up like our average client.
Yeah. Do they ever push back if they fit your revenue bracket and they're missing this and you're like, hey, I can help you, but you need to get this set up. It's going to cost you, 2, 3, 5 grand to get your CRM set up, but that's a prerequisite. Do they ever push back or are they willing to say, okay, I understand that's what it's going to take to start growing?
I think usually you ask me like, how are we different than some other agencies or how do we stand out in the sales process? Like all of these things, like if you go to an agency and say, hey, I want to give you $5,000, they'll say, cool, give us the money. We'll help you. Right.
Correct. Correct.
So, it's like, I think there's like a feather in our cap where like they trust us more because we're like, we want you to set up for success. We do not want to just take your money and not grow your business because that's going to hurt our
Right.
brand. It's going to hurt your business. It's going to hurt everything, all the stuff. It's going to be frustrating for everyone involved.
Yeah.
So I think it helps us stand out. Sometimes people do push back, but we don't set up their CRM. Like go set up Jobber. I'm a Jobber brand ambassador. So like go set up Jobber or something else. And like you can get that up and running in a month or two and get your business going
Right.
and like come work with us.
Got it. So on these lines, right? In today's market, when a home service owner says they need more leads, right? How often is the real issue conversion, follow up, or operations?
Yeah, so there's a whole section in my book about this. But essentially, the problem is that most home service businesses operate off of gut feeling.
Hmm.
They hire an agency, they don't have the full picture of data. And after a month or two, they say, I'm just not feeling this. It doesn't make sense. They don't know the full picture. So they're up at night worried about it. So what we do is there's 4 numbers. I mentioned them: booking rate, close rate, average ticket, customer acquisition cost. We build those in their business and we fight for data integrity for those numbers. Because if I said, hey, here's 10 leads that we got you from Google search ads and you only booked one of them, that's a 10% booking rate. We know that the average booking rate is 62%. This is based off of a CRM service titan. That's a big one in the home service space. So like we know that you have an issue with your booking rate. We go and listen to the calls. Yep, you have a script issue. You have a booking rate problem. So then we can go to them and say, hey, you need to fix this problem in your business. So I guess 9 times out of 10, if they don't know their numbers, it's usually a infrastructure problem like what you're referring to. The booking rate, the close rate, the average ticket, something is broken there. And what we do as a business is we try to fix that first. We want to know the data. The data will tell us what to fix, and then we help fix it, and then we scale the stuff from there. It helps because a lot of agencies start with, let's just scale your ads and then push it back on the on the business to figure out their numbers and their automations. And that's to try to get the quickest wins. But we know that it's not the quickest wins because it's going to go into a leaky bucket. You're just going to keep pouring more water into it.
You do mention a little bit about automation. So is that something, if the CRM CSR is already checked, right? You've checked those off. Are
Yep.
are you guys delivering some of these custom automations for these guys?
Yeah.
For the
So in my book, it's called The Second Engine. Basically, what got you to $1 million is not going to get you to 10 million. So the first part for if you're listening is you need your data. So you need your booking rate, your close rate, your average ticket, your customer acquisition cost. Your booking rate needs to be between 40 and 60%. Your close rate, 40 and 60%. If your booking rate is too low, that means that you need automation of a lead nurture sequence. You need, when a lead comes in, text, emails, calls, nurturing
Right.
them to book a job.
7 contacts.
There you go. Then when an estimate goes out, If your estimate close rate is below 40% or even 50 or 60%, you need an estimate nurture sequence to now follow up with your estimates for you to close more deals. Those two numbers, if you know those numbers and you have the infrastructure and the technology, the automations built out that connects with your CRM, you basically have that engine that's growing. And then now it's funneling into the actual good marketing with real good data. So then you're not missing anything that's coming into your bucket. And then you pull those numbers every single month. That's how you grow your business. So, yes, to answer your question, if you have a CRM, we have two automation engineers on the team. When they onboard with us, we build a custom tech stack for them. Another thing that they don't really know that's coming, but it's like, we need this in place in order for us to be successful. So you don't have to use us. We are going to help you do it. And if you want to do it, you can, but you can't hold us accountable to results if you don't have this in place for your business.
Correct. Yeah, I've seen some of the nurture sequences in like a Go High Level or
Yeah, we use Go High
one of
Level.
those. You guys use GHL? Yeah.
Sometimes we'll do like GHL is good, but sometimes like if they have a CRM that has some automations that you can build inside there, we'll build in there. Sometimes we need like custom webhooks and Zap integrations or different things. But usually the beginning part is Go High Level, and then we'll drop things into their CRM and see things will happen outside of their CRM. But essentially, I don't care what you use. You can use Go High Level, Chirp, Hatch, if campaign, whatever you want to do, just have it in place.
Yeah. No, this is great. It kind of matches a lot of the thought processes that were going inside my head as far as nurturing. You've got your 7 times. What's the new number now? Is it still 7 or is it more?
Google did a study and they said 7. What we found with home service businesses, it depends on two things. If you have like an HVAC company and you have no heat and it's, obviously it's like, don't wait 7 days. Hit them up 7 times today. But if it's like more of a gutter cleaning, just gathering information, like 14 days, nurture sequence is fine. Some of the things that we try to do inside of that process is include videos, like agency speak would be VSLs, video sales letter.
Sure.
But like
Sure.
home service is like record a video and introduce yourself and thank them for filling out a form, tell them about yourself, that kind of stuff. So we try to embed some videos in there to stand out as well, and that helps convert.
Yeah. Great pointers for some of the folks that are starting out in their journey, in their marketing agency journey. Let's talk a little bit about the future. So if you look at 12 to 18 months on, what is one challenge that if solved would create the biggest growth unlock for Flash?
In particular, in my business, I would say right now we have good lead flow, but we have this issue between leads and booked appointments. So for people listening, I'm sure they would feel this as well, is for the first like 500,000 to a million, it was just referrals and word of mouth because I was doing a great job at helping scale businesses. About 500,000, I started creating content, and that was probably 4 years ago. And the content just takes a long time, but at around 2-ish years, it started to click. So we started to get a good amount of leads, like warm leads and warm bookings. Now, majority of our customers come from content. I would say that, and that's fine. The problem with content and referrals as your growth engine is that it's not predictable and it's not scalable. Scalable meaning you can't just like turn on more content and get more leads out the other side. It's more of like, hopefully you get some leads coming in, but it's more of a farming strategy than hunting.
Got it.
So about like 6 months ago, we started running ads to our high value content offer and really dialing that process in. So we get really good leads, but we haven't fully unlocked. Okay, they downloaded this thing. Now they need to book a meeting. And then how do we get them on a call? What we're about to switch to in about a month, if we can't figure out the other thing, is we're switching to what's called a product led scaling.
PLG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Product led growth. Yeah. Which is
Yep. Yep.
basically we have a product that proprietary AI software that we built that we're going to introduce to the market and have people schedule demos for as a way to get them on calls that would be more enticing than like download this playbooks thing and try to get them on a call, that kind of stuff.
Okay. So it's kind of like a tripwire type of mechanism where you get them in at a low entry barrier, and then they want more after that.
Yeah,
Potentially.
the product-led growth strategy that we're going to do is we built this really cool AI software for home service businesses.
Yeah.
And we're going to, like, no one else has this or is doing it. So we're going to intro it through ads and have people schedule demos. And then it's going to be like a Trojan horse where it's going to be like, Hormozy, he talks about like you solve one problem, but then it
Yep.
blocks all the other problems.
Correct.
So
Correct.
essentially, this is going to solve the first problem, but then it's not going to solve their bigger problem, which is why they would work with us.
Yeah. No, that I think that's an excellent strategy. Yeah, I've read all three of his
Yeah.
recent books, and talks about the $100 million leads and offers, and yeah, it's very fascinating to see how the unlocks work sequentially.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about what has worked best so far to grow your agency. Is it referrals, content, partnerships, outbound, or something else?
Something else, and it's been retention.
Okay.
And I can also talk about some of the other, more flashy stuff. But from a retention perspective, our churn is like under 2%. And I think it speaks to what I mentioned in the beginning, which was we built something that's real for real people to solve real problems. It's not just a flash in the pan type thing. So for us, we care so much about client retention and doing good by bringing on the right clients. We have a saying, drag them in, drag them around. Like bring in the real good clients, keep them with us paying and keep them happy and keep them growing. So that's the first thing is like anyone that has scaled an agency to like 5 or 10 million, they're going to tell you that retention is the number one growth lever. Because if you have a leaky bucket and you bring people in and they leave, it's going to be an expensive growth struggle. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say, up until this point, I mentioned kind of like those tiers, like referrals and word of mouth, then content, and the content engine is good. Like last year, we closed probably 26 clients, and I would say 20 of them were from content. And I think, like I said, that works. So I would say if you're trying to get to like $3 million, you could do it just like what I did. You could also run the ads play and figure that out sooner and have a lever to pull. But to get me to 10 million, we definitely need some other channels, not just relying on only those. We could get there, but it's going to be a slower growth.
On that note, it almost makes it. I don't know if you follow Cody Sanchez at all,
Yeah.
because she talks about buy the boring businesses and the boomers that are exiting every day almost. Are those avenues that you've thought about tapping into as far as, how do you get to that 5 and 10 million scale with the least path of resistance? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So you're referring to like acquiring another digital marketing company and plugging them in or something?
Or targeting those home service boomer businesses that, you know, they're,
Oh, they wanna sell.
they're
That's what we do. That's what literally, like,
okay.
when I first started, so the
Yeah.
guy that I worked at the home service business, he had been doing it for 25 years, and he had been stuck. And then within 2 years, he went to 5 million and then sold to private equity for $8 million or something. Then my next client was same thing, an older guy, and then he went from 3 million to 8 million in 36 months, sold to private equity. So the whole thing was like, hey, if you're an old business and you want to get with the times and get a better infrastructure in place and you want to sell in the next couple years, we literally have the private equity playbook. Like we work with private equity companies that plug us in and do this. And then we work on the other side where we've gone through the private equity exit because we build the system. So in my book, I actually have a whole section about private equity. And whether you want to sell or not, you need to set it up this way. On my podcast, I interviewed John Warlow, who wrote Built to Sell, which is basically the book on how to scale a service business and then ultimately sell it. And so we built the company around these three principles, which is how do you get customers, how do you convert them into sale, and then how do you bring them back into your funnel? That's our three pillars that we implement in their business. And our whole thing is whether you want to sell or not, this is the private equity playbook that they want to see inside of a home service business that's actually operating correct.
Got it. No, that's great because I always think about that track, like, hey, there's so many people out there that either they're happy with their business, but it's a nice to have if they were able to grow it, and especially if they're looking for an exit, if they make the EBITDA numbers look good because their growth has been on point, then they can look for a way better retirement deal
Exactly.
than if it was to just sell on biz buy sell as
Exactly.
just one another business.
Yeah, so the exact thing that happened to me is like if you're $1 to $3 million home service business, then usually in like 24 months you can get to 3 to 5 million if when we like our average client. So the EBITDA numbers are a lot different. If you're 1 to 3 million and you're 20%, that's like 200,000 to like 600,000. But if you get to 3 to 5 million, then you're doing $1 million EBITDA. Your multiple is going to be way higher.
Yeah.
And so and that's really just by plugging in a good marketing partner that actually cares and knows all your numbers. And then the better part of this is when you actually go through due diligence, this is what I talk about in my book. When you go through due diligence, you have all your numbers. So they say, how do you get your customers? And it's not just like, oh, they call my cell phone. It's like my Google return on ad spend is da 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 da. My da da da. Like you have all your stuff buttoned up, and then they're like, wow, this company actually has it together. No wonder they scale.
Nice. No, this is I think we're on the same page over here.
Yeah.
So if you could wave a magic wand and instantly fix one growth or efficiency issue inside your agency, what would it be?
Definitely I need one of two cold levers that's fast and expensive, but essentially it's either cold ads working into actual booked meetings or B2B partnerships with CFOs or people, like having a good system for that. I need one of those two channels because right now, the way that I'm going, as I mentioned, is like a slow burn of growth. Not that it's bad, but if we want to really ramp this up, we need another lever that's faster.
So you said cold ads leading to book meetings and meetings booked with who?
B2B, yeah, B2B partnerships like we have a couple of CFOs, fractional CFOs that refer us business. And we have a referral, we pay referrals $1,000 if they refer us.
Sure.
So we either need that channel ramped up and or the ads channel ramped up that's actually producing booked meetings and closed deals.
Got it. Let's talk a little bit about operational efficiency, right? Once a lead is generated, where do you see the most revenue leak in home services businesses?
Without a doubt, it's in the first touch. So at my home service business, the way that it worked was someone filled out a form and then the customer service representative would call them whenever they were free. Sounds pretty normal. Imagine it's 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday. They wouldn't get a call back till Monday at 9 a.m. They call back and no one answers the phone. So then what happens at that point? Do we call back the next day? Do we touch base via email? Do we text them? Who knows? When we talk about like a lead nurture sequence, the best thing is when a lead comes in, we instantly text them and email them right away. And we would ask a question. So we would say, "Hey, Phil, thanks so much for reaching out to us. If you have a sec, could you send over a picture or tell us a little bit more about your project?" This instantly moves the ball forward for the prospect. So they feel more buy-in to your company.
Engaged.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
engaged. And
Yep.
it gets you more information so that way when you get to this, you can actually look at it and say, "Okay, cool, we need to have someone go out there," or, "Hey, it's gonna cost this much money." But at least there's some movement. And then when you call them and they don't answer, you have a text thread and an email thread that you can communicate on. So, yeah, there's other, like, more pro tips on that, but that's the ascent.
Sure. Yeah, I get it. Like on paper, it sounds great. Like, hey, I'll get you back when I'm at the first available appointment, rather than, hey, you just texted me. Clearly, it's important to you if you're texting me at 9 p.m. on a Friday night. Let me at least get a little more information so we can show you that we're interested to solve your problem. Because that's the goal. Sales is not about selling; it's about solving.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So elephant in the room, right? AI is everywhere. Where do you think it actually is useful in home services today, and where is it overhyped?
Okay, well, home service, there's so much unlocked potential that is not even happened yet. What I will say is in the industry, we've unlocked like call AI, answering service. We've unlocked some AI with estimating. We've unlocked some dispatching AI, some basic operational AI efficiencies for home service businesses. What we haven't unlocked yet, which I believe is more of the future, is in the delivery side of the service. So, for example, like in HVAC, imagine your HVAC unit was able to diagnose itself and then go back to the business and tell it the issue. There are some companies that have this, but it's not fully like rolled out. The bigger one, in my opinion, is using meta glasses where
Yeah,
your technician can actually like be on site and diagnose and troubleshoot things from a database and have it give it information or what's needed, which would help solve the technician training problem and give them instant, what to do, when to do it, questions, that kind of thing. So I believe like that's a big unlock over there. The operational stuff is pretty much done. There's more that could be done, but that's like an easier side of it. It's more on the technician front that's the issue. And then obviously there's a lot of marketing stuff that is there, but it's like from an ads perspective. I can speak more to the agency side as well. Like there's an inflection point in agencies when it comes to AI. We could talk about that if you wanted to as well.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The biggest thing with agencies, I would say, is that the inflection point is we're here. We all know if you run an agency that you can use AI to pretty much like do all of your deliverables. You can build agents to do that. And it's going to be a race to the bottom. The bigger difference is the companies that consult, in my opinion, and they're more like forward thinkers and more embedded in the business, like partnership wise, which is why a lot of stuff I've been sharing is like so ingrained in these businesses
Mhm.
because people are not going to want more watered down. And if they do, that's fine. But they know that it's a race to the bottom from a revenue perspective. What they will pay for is more ingrained in their business that knows about their business, that can help them build things, that can help them build AI stuff. Like all of that stuff is going to be more expensive because people are going to pay a lot more for that because it's going to be more and more. So I think that there's an inflection point with agencies where it's not just about how can I automate myself out of revenue because these business owners are going to get smart. They're not going to keep spending $2,000 a month for ChatGPT
Right.
junk. And so it's not there yet, but in the next 2 to 3 years, I believe that that's going to be a big shift.
Yeah, I can see that trend. Where AI is going to move past the low hanging fruit kind of things and get a little more ingrained in day to day operations and start unlocking a lot of new things as we see the boundaries pushed. Let's say 2 to 5 years ahead, right? What is your long term vision for Flash, and what kind of partnerships or capabilities would matter the most?
Well, definitely we're gonna be at $10 million. As long as I like don't screw anything up, we'll be at $10 million. It's gonna be like a slow burn, right? If we can't figure out the other side, but we have a really great product, really great service, good brand, good recognition, good content, all that stuff. As far as the capabilities go, right now we're in the process of building out agents, and it's not to replace our team. We have 23 team members. It's more so to enable them to be leaders of agents.
Yeah,
And we need their brain and their process and system to be able to run these agents instead of putting more bodies on things. That's why we're building these agents. So
yeah.
I believe that it's going to be more of a agent led marketing strategy while also layering in a consulting piece to it.
Or just for giggles, do you ever have a contest in your workforce that says whoever wins, I'll name the next agent after you?
They laugh at me because like, who made this name? And I'm like, I did. And they're like, okay, well, I guess we'll go with it. It's fun. Maybe we'll have to have them like, hey, whoever wins this thing gets to name the next agent.
Yeah, I had a buddy that was building AI agents to support his own business needs,
Mhm.
and he was calling. He called one of the agents Elon, and then there was an agent that was handling all the money part, and he called him Warren.
Yeah.
There's that's kind of where I'm coming from. Like, get creative, and sometimes it's great to have that healthy competition within the team, and one's going to tell the other, "Hey, look, I won. Phil named the agent after me."
Exactly.
No, this has been awesome. There's so much to unpack and learn from everything you've said. So, for someone earlier in their journey, right, whether it's an agency owner or a home service operator, what is one lesson that you learned the hard way that could save them time and or money?
Before you spend another dollar on ads or before you think that ads is your golden ticket to growth, make sure you know your numbers because you don't want to put water into a leaky bucket. And a lot of times, me included, business owners in general, we think, oh, well, I have some money and I can invest in marketing. So I'm just going to go run ads because that's the quickest thing. And it is a quick win, like what I mentioned before about a quicker lever. But if you don't have the infrastructure or the numbers, you're just going to be putting water into a leaky bucket and not actually be able to grow your business. And you're going to get really frustrated with marketing companies because you're not going to know the data and you're not going to be able to sleep at night because you spent all this money on marketing and it didn't work. So that would be my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of people that just think that throwing money at ads is a quick win, and to take it a step further, right? People use AI to create all kinds of ads, but then there's a mismatch on the ads versus the landing page where the messaging is not the same, and then it literally kills the CTR or the click through rate and doesn't result in the call to action being triggered. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, of course. I think from an actual like building of an ads, making sure your ads, your funnel, everything lines up. But I would say even kind of what I was getting at further than that, which is all that is good and you should be doing that. But more importantly, again, no one wants to pay marketing just to pay a marketing company. They want to pay for the outcome of growth. So
Yeah,
make sure that when you pay and you put more inputs in, that you know that you're going to get more outputs out.
correct. Very wise words. Thank you for that. Towards the end here, let's just say if someone listening is trying to build a more scalable home service growth engine, right? What should they focus on first?
So in the book that I've been mentioning a lot, but we have different layers. So the first one is data because your data is going to tell you what to fix. If your booking rate is low, if your estimate close rate is low, if your average ticket is low, right? You kind of mentioned like what to do. Once you have those numbers dialed in and you feel confident and you feel good about those numbers, then you layer on the automations that you need. So if you need to increase your booking rate, you do lead nurture. If you need to increase your estimate close rate, you do estimate nurture. If you need to increase your average ticket, you work with your sales script or increase your rates. So then you stack that. And then the last thing is you do more marketing. And there's 4 ways to get new customers. This is from Hormozy's Core 4. You do free stuff, you make more content, you make more blog posts, you do more social media content, get more reviews, SEO, all that stuff. The second way is paid ads with return on ad spend. You can do Google local service ads, Google search ads, Yelp, Meta, home shows, mailers, Angie, Thumbtack. There's a bunch of them.
Right.
The third one is warm partnerships, so B2B partnerships. So find complementary services, have them refer you business. And then the fourth one is cold outreach, like door knocking, that kind of stuff. Do those four things, and then you put more water into a bucket that's already been patched, and you know your numbers every single month, and you're going to grow.
That's awesome. It's almost like you laid out a marketing plan for our listeners. So that's amazing. Everything you've shared today has been super helpful to myself, to our listeners. Where can they follow your work and learn more about Phlash other than your website?
Yeah. Well, our website is Phlash Consulting, PHLASH consulting.com. If you're like, hey, Phil seems like a cool dude, LinkedIn is good. Phil Risher, Instagram, Phil Risher. The book's not out yet, but it's going to be out in probably like June 2026. That's the secondengine.com. So you can go there. But yeah, that's the best place. I'm happy to be a resource. And if I can add value to your business, happy to do that as well.
That's amazing. Since we mentioned the book so many times, I was gonna
Yeah.
ask you. I was like, "Hey, is there an Amazon link that I can throw in the description for those that are interested?" So you're saying this is coming out in June?
Yeah. I'm waiting for a couple more endorsements to come in and then got to go from there. But yeah, in June.
Awesome. And to know more about the book, is it thesecondengine.com?
That's right.
Okay. I will make sure to put that in the description. Now it's been a phenomenal you know 50 some minutes just chatting and getting to know all these aspects of successfully running a home services business or scaling a home services business from a marketing perspective. Really appreciate you being with us on the show today. Is there any parting words you want to leave for our audience?
Well, thanks for having me. I would say one of my favorite quotes is if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. And I would just say go get after it. And the more questions you ask, the more you're going to figure out.
That's awesome. Great words. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate you making time for us and wish you the best in the next stage and your next plans that you've laid out and the book launch as well.
Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.